Hello, all. Today we've got an interesting body horror narrative by Tony Baloney called The Village Feast. As always, you can find a link to the author's Reddit and to their Reddit story in the description. So without further ado, let's get started. For several years, me, my girlfriend Amy, my brother Jake, and his wife Susan all went on a road trip to a cottage. This was a tradition we did every year, originally with me, Jake, and our parents before they disappeared. They told us they were going to go on a couple's vacation and left us with our grandparents. There was no trace of them ever since. Their bodies, their car, everything was gone without a trace. We were on the same familiar road we'd seen for the past 13 years. Well, 13 years for me and Jake. The road was long, seeming to stretch infinitely, and I felt like I was going to have to switch with someone else soon before I fell asleep. It felt like there was a rope on my eyelids, with a weight attached to them, making me have to force my eyes open. I took a quick sip of my emergency energy drink to help ward off sleep, even if just for a short time. "You really need to cut back. That's your third one a day," Amy said from the passenger seat. "Relax. My heart hasn't given out yet. Plus, we're almost there anyway. I'll be fine." "I'll be more than happy to slap your bulbous head if you fall asleep," Jake said from the back seat, his joke making Amy snicker, while Susan gave Jake a reprimanding hit on the shoulder. I rolled my eyes, but smiled a little. Little things like this was how me and my brother got along. I saw a sign on the crossroads ahead. The road we needed to go through was closed, so the only choice we had was to turn right. It was the same road that my parents would have went down for their couple's vacation all these years back, assuming they actually did go there. I looked at my elder brother in the back seat and saw the same somberness in his eyes that I was feeling too. But I didn't want to think about my deadbeat parents right now. I wanted to enjoy a nice road trip with my family. I looked through my rearview mirror and thought I saw the blocked road sign shift a little, but I chalked it down to me just being tired from driving for 6 straight hours. About half an hour later, we arrived at a small village. Just a few houses, some trees. The usual thing you'd see. It was quiet and peaceful, but it felt wrong in a way that I couldn't explain. I kept driving through, but after about 5 or so minutes, I started to notice something. It almost looked like the town was looping. Most of the houses looked the same, so I just chalked it up to that. At least until I noticed the house numbers and street signs were repeating. I saw Elm Street and Travis Street at least 13 times so far. I also noticed that it didn't seem like there were any cars or people around. It seemed like everyone else was starting to notice it too. "Babe, what's going on? We've been driving through here for almost an hour now." Amy tried to keep her usual air of confidence, but I could hear the slight panic in her voice. "It's okay, it's just..." I trailed off. I couldn't explain why this was happening, and it honestly scared me. I placed my hand on hers and gave it a small squeeze to comfort her. Suddenly, the car started slowing down and sputtering before coming to a slow halt. No, damn it!" I said as I smacked the steering wheel in frustration. There was no way we were out of gas already. We should have had enough for at least a few more hours. "What's wrong?" Jake inquired, panic setting in him as well as the rest of us. "Out of gas." "Well, what do we do now?" Susan asked. "Well, we either stay in the car or go out and see if we can find a gas station around here." None of us liked the idea of going out in this place, but we didn't really have much of a choice. We all stepped out, taking the opportunity to stretch our sore legs from a long trip. Okay, Amy and I will head this way, I said while pointing north. You and Susan can head south. Call us if you find anything, I said, trying not to show how nervous I was. We were all in agreement and split into our groups. Babe, will we be okay? Amy's voice penetrated through my thoughts after we walked in anxious silence for about 15 minutes since we split up. Yeah, we'll be fine. I didn't sound as certain as I hoped. I prayed to the Lord that we'd get out of whatever hell we were in, and that Jake and Susan would be okay. We walked for another 5 minutes, when I noticed Amy looking around quite a bit, like she heard something. You okay, babe? I asked as I squeezed her hand a little, my voice bringing her back to reality. Oh, yeah. It kind of feels like we're being watched, don't you think? I felt a pit in my stomach. Truthfully, I'd felt it. Like something was directly behind me, breathing down my neck and observing our every move. I just chalked it down to anxiety, but now that Amy felt it too, I was wondering if there was more going on than I thought. No, I was overthinking it again. I'm fine, we're fine. That's what I wanted to say, if I didn't just witness the trees moving. Darling, I put my finger to my lip, shushing her before she finished her sentence. I pointed at a tree that was behind a house. From where we were, it looked like it was walking extremely slowly. This was different from the usual sway of trees in the wind. There wasn't any wind right now, and it wasn't just moving back and forth. It looked like it was very slowly walking behind the house, bobbing up and down with each step. The lines in the bark showed something horrifying. The tree had flesh. This thing was alive, and organic, and slowly moving toward us. Babe, we need to get back to the car, I said with a wavering voice as we turned around and started booking it back to the direction of my car. Against my better judgment, I looked back and saw more trees crawling out of the ground on roots made of flesh. We were pretty far from the car, and we were already pretty tired. We both worked office jobs, so stamina wasn't our strong suit. Quick, in here! I shouted as I dragged her into one of the nearby empty houses. We leaned against the wall, trying to catch our breaths. What was that? Amy exclaimed between breaths. I don't know. I should call Jake and Susan, let them know, I said, actively trying not to crap myself out of fear. I pulled my phone out of my pocket, taking deep breaths to calm myself as I called Jake with shaking hands, waiting for him to pick up. I'll go look around in here a bit, see if we can find anything to eat or something, Amy said. I nodded, phone still ringing as she went into another room to look around. She was usually pretty stoic. Heck, I thought it was one of her most attractive traits, but I could tell that mask was starting to falter, and she needed to be alone for a little bit. Finally, Jake picked up. Jake, there's a problem. The tree's there. Jake cut me off before I could finish. It sounded like he was running, and had been for a while. I also could hear the sheer desperation and fear in his voice. Susan, she got... They're all... Jake, what's going on? Are you and Susan okay? What's happening? She got taken. It got her. The trees? No. We went into a house to run from the trees and she went into the basement and then... He was panting heavy. Whether from fear or exhaustion was hard to tell. It ate her. What? What did? The house. Every damn thing is a Jake got cut off by the sound of creaking wood and flesh slapping the ground. His screams were blood-curdling and continuous before he suddenly went silent. The sounds of bones crunching and flesh tearing open forever burned in my mind. He was gone. My brother was dead. The brother I confided in, and who confided in me after our parents' death, has now joined them. I just hope it was quick and painless. But then something he said clicked. Susan had been eaten, not by the trees, but by a house. I shot up and ran the direction I saw Amy go. "Amy, we need to get out of here now. Where are you?" I shouted, praying that I'd get an answer. "I'm down here, Kyle." I heard it from the basement. I went to the door I heard the voice from. "Come down here. It's absolutely amazing." I froze, hand pausing on the doorknob. Amy never called me by my name. Only nicknames. She also never called anything amazing. It was always adequate or acceptable. She never believed in calling anything more than what it was, which I always thought was weird, but rolled with it. My hand was shaking on the doorknob. Do I open it? Do I run away? Was this really her? Was it a cheap imitation? Anxious thoughts swirled through my mind as Amy, or the imitation, urged me to come down. Jake's words entered my mind. But what if Amy is alive and well? What if this house is normal? Thoughts of my life spent with Amy entered my mind. The day we met, the day I asked her out like a nervous wreck, our first date, and every other one after that, and even future prospects such as a wedding, starting a family, moving somewhere nice together, and living until we were old. I did it. I opened the door. Amy was there, stuck in a giant wall of meat with fleshy tentacles, eyes and organs covering its twisting wet body. One of the eyes were green and vibrant, just like my mother's. Amy was being consumed by the house, just as Jake warned me, but I couldn't look away. Whatever this was had me in its hold, as it spoke to me in her voice, soothing me as one of its fleshy, pulsating tentacles wrapped around my waist and pulled me closer. I knew I should have tried to fight it, but I couldn't. I felt at peace, like I didn't need to fight, despite what my mind was telling me. I felt the warm, wet embrace of its flesh as I started getting consumed, but I didn't scream or fight. I accepted this fate peacefully, and as I looked into the cold, dead eyes of my lover, I was happy knowing she felt the same peace before she died as I did now. I reached for her cold, yet soft hand, and held it before the flesh creature took us both into paradise. End of story. Once again, a big thank you to the author Tony Baloney, and, well, just a big thank you. I wouldn't have anything to read if it wasn't for you, and your willingness to write, so huge props to you, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye.